Chapter 2. American Expeditionary Forces, AEF, Headquarters, St. Nazaire. White American soldiers in heavy wool coats stood guard over a vast sea of tents. Black American soldiers in threadbare thin coats blew into their gloveless hands to warm them as they hammered away on wooden planks. New buildings appeared to rise like a small city overnight. They were still exhausted from the train ride from Brest, having been squeezed into small freight cars in numbing cold, many soldiers suffering frostbite. The barracks were flimsy shacks without floors. At 6:45 each morning, trucks arrived to take them to Montoire, 8 miles away from camp. Armed with shovels and picks and wearing hip-length rubber boots, the soldiers built a dam, railroads, warehouses, and docks. They worked long days in the rain and mud, clearing a huge swamp. The white officers, in contrast, enjoyed comforts that the black soldiers could only dream about. They often ate in the French officers' club, where the wine and liquor flowed. They enjoyed 24-hour passes to visit sites in the region and dine at world-class restaurants. Their only discomfort was censoring the letters their men sent home, some 400 letters a week, written in pencil. Captain Major Forbes, a white man from Connecticut, resented this distinction and spent his time with his Hellfighters. He almost pitied those officers who would soon see their European excursion come to a brutal end when they got to the front. Inside the command tent, Captain Major Forbes and David studied a map, whiskeys in hand. Forbes was the commander of David's regiment, the 369th. Unlikely, yet longtime friends, Forbes and David had seen some of the fiercest battles in a different war, the war back home. Before a single Hellfighter stepped foot on French soil, they had already seen combat in American training camps. Spartanburg was especially brutal. Small stoves in the corners kept Forbes' tent toasty. He pointed at one spot on the map in particular. "They are holding this small town," he said, "which you and your men shall liberate." "Yes, sir." "We're entering a country ravaged by 3.5 years of war," Forbes continued. "Mass desertions of French soldiers, so the eyes of the world are upon us. The French expect a major German offensive, but Captain Ham Fish calculates that the Germans are going to settle their eastern affairs, finish the war on the eastern front against Russia before turning their attention to France. I think the war will end by July 1st, but Fish actually hopes not, as the men of his unit want a chance to show their prowess. It's my job to get the men to the front. I've written to General Pershing that we are ready. He's still hesitant to send Negro troops in, but looks like his alternative, putting us with French troops, is going to be the solution." Forbes eyed David closely. "You realize that you all will serve as French fighters, not American?" "Yes, sir," David said. Forbes studied David's face for a moment, then walked over to his desk to retrieve a stack of mail. Forbes handed the stack to David. David appeared to hesitate before accepting the mail, which was not lost on Forbes. "You have a tough mission coming up," he joked. "Millie wants me to bring her back a German stallion for her birthday." David slowly pulled the letter out of his pocket and handed it to Forbes. "This needs to be sent home." Forbes read the address, then looked up with concern. "Why do I have a feeling that this is not a typical hello dear letter?" "That's a good guess." "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "You and Ruth." "It's for the best," David cut in. "In time, she will come to understand that." As David made his way back through camp, he was met with glares from white soldiers. Ignoring them as usual, David focused instead on the line of German POWs being dragged across his path. David caught the eye of one of the prisoners, who spat on the ground in contempt. Lieutenant Europe approached and exchanged salutes with David. "A word, Sergeant?" he asked. "Yes, sir," David replied. David felt somewhat starstruck whenever he found himself in Lieutenant Europe's presence. He wondered if he would ever call him Big Jim like some of the other musicians. "Working on some things for when we get back home," Lieutenant Europe said. "An all-Negro orchestra to tour the country." Lieutenant Europe looked David in the eyes. "We need your cornet, Pierce." "What say you?" he asked. "I say it's a fine idea, sir," David replied. "Let me think about it." "Very good. See you at rehearsals," Lieutenant Europe said. As David watched him walk away, Jimmy bounced up from nowhere. He was tall and thin, all arms and legs waving everywhere. "So, any mail today?" Jimmy asked, breathless. David brushed past. Jimmy followed. David and Jimmy entered the rear of the camp, the Negroes only section. Hellfighters drilled with bayonets with a white French instructor. Jimmy overtook David on the path and walked backward as David pressed forward. "Oh, come on," Jimmy pleaded. "I see the letters." "Any news about you-know-who?" David stopped and rifled through the stack of mail. He removed 2 envelopes and pushed the rest into Jimmy's chest. "Here's yours and everybody else's," David said. "Now scat! Get your mind ready for the mission." Jimmy sulked away. On the way to his tent, David crossed paths with Preach, their chaplain. "David the giant killer," Preach beamed. "Pleased to see you returning in one piece." "As promised, Preach," David said. "Up to spread the good word?" Preach laughed. "Actually, just going to the mess to see if we're having anything good for lunch. I'm starving." "That's worth praying for," David said. As Preach walked off, David stopped to open his first letter. Phil's letter to his younger brother David. "Brother, received your letter. Glad to know you made it to France okay. You saw fit to return here so quickly, but it was nice having you around here for a while. I understood why you left, after what happened to Mitch. Everybody's looking out for his wife and kids now, but they need you too. We all lean on your strength, myself included. But after what you did for me, I have no right to ask anything. We'll talk when you get back. I want to make things right. Just give me a chance. Till then, I'll keep the dust off all your books here, Shakespeare. You're living the dream, crossing the ocean and shooting up Germans like a real hero. Proud of you. Stay safe. Phil." From his tent's opening, David watched the sun as it set over camp. He pulled the second envelope from his pocket. It was word from his good friend and former commander, Willard Toussaint. Retired and living in France in relative luxury for a Negro man from the Deep South, Toussaint was admired by many and despised by some for not returning home. "No word on her band's next gig," the note read. "I'll keep asking around. Will." David crushed the letter and tossed it. He lit a cigarette and watched the night close in. The next morning, David, Jimmy, and a squad of Hellfighters trained and packed supplies. David locked gazes with Eddie Gabriel, a.k.a. Second Line, who turned out to be a cousin from New Orleans. Eddie was transferred in from the 92nd after rumors of the regiment's poor performance in the war thus far. David didn't believe half the rumors, as it was always easy to discredit the black man. Eddie studied piano with David's father. From David's experience, study meant brutal criticism with a heavy dose of violence, so he at least had respect for Eddie if the story was true. David fought back feelings of envy as Eddie spent precious time with Nathan while David was fatherless in New York, fighting to keep his family fed. Thus far, the two men kept their distance in camp. However, they would be seeing each other soon, since David had recently approved Eddie's transfer to their squad. Jimmy eyed the cousins' exchange as he walked up. "So, you decided to let second line run with us after all?" David replied. "Now it's a family affair," Jimmy added. Then, "How long did he play with your father's band?" David smoked. Jimmy waited, then turned his attention to the sky. "Fine weather for a raid, seems like," Jimmy mused aloud. David had enough. "What you want, kiddo?" Jimmy rubbed the back of his neck. David was not prepared for Jimmy's pause, as he usually talked nonstop. "I'm still just thinking is all," Jimmy said. "I mean, are you still thinking about the raid on the club?" "I know I am." David's chest tightened at the memory, but he stayed cool. "Not at all." That evening after dinner, David stayed in his tent and wrote out several drafts of a letter. He discarded page after page until he settled on one. He sipped on a cup of wine smuggled in weeks prior. David's letter to Giselle. "I have nowhere to send this damn letter. Where are you? All I can do is write this down because I can't speak fear into existence. Not in the middle of a war. A fool. I write as if you can read this letter with your mind. Some sort of mental telegraph, I guess. I wish. I didn't know you for long, but somehow I know you. We've returned to our base to receive orders. There will be no forgiveness for the attack last night. We will show the Germans who we are and why we're here. Giselle, I pray that you survived. I swear I can feel you out there somewhere. Come see the next Hellfighters show in Milan. I will be there. Sincerely, Sergeant David Pierce."